What's up, everybody? Welcome to Mixed Reactions. It's myself and Casey Merritt. Sean Gardner is out today, but we've got Justin Duncan. NFL's coming up, fellas. It's going to be a really good show. How are you guys feeling today?
Doing
Can't
well.
complain.
Welcome
Can't
back,
complain.
Justin.
Can't complain. Doing pretty good, fellas. How about you?
Getting ready for the season, man. Getting ready.
I'm just trying to figure out what the best diet for Zeke is, to be honest with you.
Not
Goal
being
line,
on the
baby.
Cowboys
Goal
roster
line.
anymore.
Goal line, baby. Goal line.
Not being on the Cowboys roster anymore. That's the best diet for Zeke. And I love Zeke for the time frame that he was there, and I wish him well. I wish him success on New England. But we're not going to sit here and act like Zeke was the same running back we saw the first 3 years either.
Oh no. No way, no how.
But a good back for Ramondre Stevenson. A good backup for him. Zeke he's still a great, pass protector, still a great short yardage back. So that would be good for New England because, as I like to say, New England doesn't have a quarterback. So let's see what happens from there.
They almost had no quarterback other than one quarterback until today.
I know. What was that? Oh my goodness. Bailey Zappi to the practice squad. That says to me they're planning on signing a veteran backup.
Well, they signed them both to the practice squad, both Malik Cunningham and Bailey Zappi. I would have been okay if they signed Colt McCoy because he just got released from Arizona. I'd have been okay with that.
He's proven. Proven backup.
Colt McCoy's a proven backup. I feel like he's leaning more towards retirement at this point, which I'm fine with. Colt McCoy's had a very solid career. I don't mean solid as in he's made Pro Bowls and everything like that, but he's made a great living doing what he's doing. He's a solid backup. You can rely on him for, 3 to 4 games. I have no doubts that he is at peace with his career.
He's an upgrade over Brian Hoyer. I'll put that away. How about that?
You're an upgrade over Brian Hoyer.
My cat is an upgrade over Brian Hoyer. But let's go ahead, as long as she receives her boobs. But fellas, preseason is done. One of the things I always enjoy about preseason is the guys grinding it out, don't know if they're going to make a roster, seeing them play with heart. And we've got week 1 coming up. So I'll go ahead and start with our guest first. Justin, what are your biggest takeaways from your Patriots in preseason, and what do you expect from them week 1, as well as just your take on preseason overall and all the week 1 games? Just wanted to see what your thoughts were.
Oh, Patriots preseason. It was hard to watch. I'm not going to lie. I mean,
it was ugly.
Freaking hard to watch. I mean, the offensive line. Oh, I'm drowning in tequila every time I'm watching the offensive line snap the ball. It's horrifying to watch.
Yeah.
Riley Reef, you might as well be in the Great Barrier Reef. He sucks so bad. It's musical chairs at the offensive line, and can someone convince Dante Scarnecchia to come back out of retirement for the 3rd time, please? Somebody.
Not happening.
I know it ain't happening, but God Almighty, doesn't matter who's receiving the ball behind the center. Jones, Zappi, Cunningham, it doesn't matter. They're all going to get killed.
And
it's awful.
One thing that I want to kind of toss back at you regarding this, Justin, is you and I have been talking about this for 3 years now. Get Mac some weapons. What is wrong with Belichick? What is wrong with the front office? We're like, we're going to throw 3 average receivers at a quarterback who's unproven. Get Mac weapons to see what he can do, and they failed to do that again.
They did. The only real upgrade I would say, and I think you'd have a hard time arguing this, is Mike Gesicki over Johnny Smith. That was their upgrade.
No question.
That was their upgrade. That was the only upgrade.
But an arguable top 10 in the league tight end and very low bottom tier top 10, arguable still, is not the upgrade that they need. Juju Smith-Schuster is not the upgrade that they need.
No, he is not. They needed Hopkins. And
yes,
they lowballed him. Quite honestly, it was for the money. It was not for anything else. He would have. I'm pretty sure I saw this on ESPN Sports, NBC Sports Boston. The relationship he had with Bill O'Brien was not the sticking point to him staying in New England. It was the money.
Yeah,
Bill
absolutely
will not spend the money to get talent. He won't. And he's gone on record saying, well, we're the lowest spending team of cash spending team in the entire league. Well, no shit, because you ain't spending anything.
That's nothing to brag about either, Bill. Like, get your head out of your ass, man. At this point, obviously, Bill Belichick is goated. He is cemented in history. I'm not sure he's the best coach in the league right now. I'm not sure I would take him over Andy Reid.
I take him. I take Andy Reid over Belichick right now, and it wouldn't be hard to convince me.
No. I think Belichick still probably has, maybe outside of Kyle Shanahan, the best defensive scheme in football. New England always has a good defense, no matter who they put out there. But they are offensively challenged. They were offensively challenged last year. They were offensively challenged the year before that, and they were offensively challenged with Cam Newton. They need something different. They need something to rejuvenate them. I'm not saying Bill's on the hot seat. I'm not saying Bill should be on the hot seat. But get some offensive weapons, New England, please, for your fans' sake, because they're going to be borderline irrelevant this year with how deep the AFC East is. And I know that's painful for you to hear as a Patriots fan, but it's just the God's honest truth.
It is. And honestly, the one thing I've been thinking about this post-draft retrospect, the Patriots traded their draft pick to the Pittsburgh Steelers, A, to screw the Jets over, and B, they end up getting Christian Gonzalez, who is a legitimate defensive rookie of the year candidate. Don't get me wrong.
Absolutely.
But you passed on Broderick Jones, who is a guaranteed potential rookie of the year offensive lineman who they need desperate tackle help, and they're not doing it.
I don't get it. I don't get it. And especially with how loaded the AFC is. I know we always talk ceilings and floors. I don't know if even the ceiling for New England is sniffing the wild card round this year.
I think the ceiling is, if you're lucky at this, again, based on how I saw the preseason, again, you can't take a whole lot of stock of the preseason, but it was god awful to watch. But if this offensive line that they strolled out in the preseason is who they're going to be rolling with, we'll be lucky to get 6 wins. Lucky. And I mean lucky.
Like bounce ball, like a just hand of God type of game, that winning 2 games that you shouldn't win, kind of lucky.
That kind of luck game, or somebody just having someone like Jalen Hurts going down with an ACL injury kind of thing.
Speaking of Jalen Hurts, you guys opened with Philly week 1. That's not a joke. That is a true testament.
That's honestly, I hate to say it, but I would not be surprised if we lose by 30. That's how bad I feel that this offensive line is going to perform.
Does it make you feel any slightly better that they may kind of up their game slightly because Brady's going to be there?
Maybe. I mean, they upped their game when Brady came back to play with Tampa, and they pushed Tampa. Don't get me wrong.
They did. They pushed him.
They
Absolutely.
did lose, but they pushed him.
Brady didn't throw a touchdown that game.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be enough, but at the same time, kind of to get back on track with our topics of discussion here, the preseason in general for the Patriots, junk, garbage, just throw in the bin, light it on fire. But preseason in general, with all of the issues we've been seeing with in-game injuries that have stopped games mid-game, aka the I'm pretty sure it was the Jaguars and Dolphins, if I'm not correctly, but that was one game, and then obviously the Packers-Patriots game.
Which I don't mind them doing in preseason. I don't mind it in the situation they did it with DeMar Hamlin either. Prayers to him. He made the Bills 53-man roster. Happy he's healthy. Happy he's, still doing what he loves. I'm for it if it's for the safety of another human. I'm for it at that point if it needs to be done.
I agree. But in general, if we're going to do joint practices, which has also been a topic of discussion around the league, how about we make that worth everyone's while, like at least for season ticket holders? Because if the owners are so worried about bringing in the revenue, make the joint practices, put the joint practices in the stadium and televise it. I
wouldn't hate that. Even if NFL Network just streams it, I wouldn't hate that at all, because
look at it like spring football for college football. You see college football teams inter-scrimmage spring games like USC or even I think I saw a game last year, Texas spring ball.
Exactly. And this is just my kind of point of view on it, especially being a Cowboys fan, where I'm not sure how familiar you are with Cowboys preseason football. We don't play anybody. Nobody starts. We don't play anybody. So a joint practice would actually give me more insight on how I should feel going into the upcoming season than any type of preseason game would. Like, my biggest takeaway personally, from the Cowboys preseason, little old 5'5" Deuce Vaughn made the 53-man roster. Little 5'5" running back Deuce Vaughn out of Kansas State.
Lewis running like crazy.
Yeah. No, and he had some great flashes in the preseason. I don't take any stock in it because it is preseason. Had a couple good touchdown runs. Looks like a very solid route runner as far as like a receiving back would go. I mean, if he gets hit, he's going to get decapitated. So God bless him. But he made the 53-man roster. I don't know if you guys saw this. We actually parted ways with Ronald Jones, who we signed in the offseason.
Wow.
Ronald Jones got
I did not see that. Wow.
So.
One more thing I want, Ian, before we kick it to you, one thing I think we would be remiss if we didn't bring this up. What were the Niners thinking by trading those picks for Trey Lance?
Oh, my goodness. They were thinking they had a diamond in the rough, and clearly they didn't. As a Cowboys fan, that trade didn't make much sense to me either. But then I remembered the NFL implemented a new rule this year. You can now have 3 active quarterbacks on your roster on game day. So now Dak, Cooper, and Trey Lance will all be active every Sunday, which is fine. I wasn't that hot on Will Grier. He played fine in his last preseason game against the Raiders. They played him start to finish, threw for 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, ran for another 2. Great. Happy for him. He landed on the practice squad in Cincinnati, so he's not jobless. Perfect. I don't think, unless Dak gets hurt and Cooper, because I still think Dallas would push Cooper into the starting slot if Dak got hurt again. I don't think Trey Lance sniffs the field this season.
I think he's going to be the bust of that quarterback class, and I say that knowing what Mac Jones has looked like.
Oh, Mac Jones isn't a bust. He's not good, but he's not a bust. Like he's
not Zach Wilson
average.
either. That's true. He ain't Zach Wilson bust.
He's not Zach Wilson. Although Zach Wilson learning behind Aaron Rodgers, this might be something for the Jets. If he learns the right way, if he actually takes notes what Aaron's doing and studies after him, he could improve. So I'm not holding that out of the window for Zach Wilson quite yet. But Trey Lance, absolutely the bust of the draft.
Absolutely. And those 3 picks turned into Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, and Bradley Chubb, all for Miami.
Of course. And speaking of that quarterback class, I mean, there's absolutely no question Trevor Lawrence is the star. Like
not even close. Not even close.
Yeah, he's incredible. But Ian, let's kick it to you. Talk about your preseason a little bit. You guys had a rough outing against Denver, lost 41-0. Obviously, it means nothing. You don't have too high hopes of the Rams this season anyway, so I kind of want to steer in this kind of a side direction. What did you think of Stetson Bennett in the preseason? Do you think he could eventually overtake Matt Stafford? Do you think Stetson Bennett has what it takes to even be a backup?
And Matt Stafford remembers Stetson Bennett's name.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if I thought he was really a great football player, then it would become an issue if he can take over before his Social Security benefits kick in. He's like fucking 97 years old, but he was rated the worst quarterback by Pro Football Focus as far as backups. We don't really play everybody in the preseason either. We had a big night from Evans the other night. I don't like Merritt said, put too much stock in the preseason. I think it's just going to come out to how well we play when the season starts. We open with Seattle. Obviously, we've got Donald, Stafford. We're going to see. I mean, he was hurt the majority of next year. And then before I get into the Rams a little bit more, I do want to just go back to what Justin said about Broderick Jones. Dude is 6'5", like 331 pounds. He would have been a staple on that offensive line for years. And for them to miss out on that while Christian Gonzalez is definitely going to be – he's an incredible athlete, definitely one of the best athletes I've seen in the secondary in years. It's arguable that the offensive line might be the most important position in football just because
it's the most important group.
They could have traded back into that spot. I mean, you could have, hypothetically speaking, you could have drafted Broderick Jones, traded your second round and Bailey Zappi, who we know, Casey and I both have confirmed, is a poor man's version of Mac Jones.
Yep. And
gotten Gonzalez.
That's absolutely could have happened. Man. The Rams. I was going to say, I still think the Rams have decent potential. I still think Stafford is a borderline top 15 quarterback. I think he slipped a little bit. Maybe he can bounce back. Cooper Kupp's one of the best receivers in the league. I still think you can have a dynamic offense. Sean McVay is a great head coach, offensive mind. I don't see you competing for the NFC West title because I think that's going to belong to San Francisco. But I could absolutely still see the Rams making a wild card round if Stafford has a bounce back year that I think he's capable of.
Agreed. I see that too.
Yeah, and the move with San Francisco, I think, makes it all the more interesting. I think once we get about the midpoint in the season, we'll have a little bit better idea of whether that trade is going to work for their benefit. Personally, that shocked me. I didn't see it coming, especially with all that it seems like Jerry puts into Dak. But as far as the Rams, like I said, the Niners making that trade adds a dynamic. Arizona, we might not have to worry. Those might be our 3 or 4 wins that come from them. But I really don't. Seattle's is gonna definitely be one of those not wild card teams necessarily, but a wild card in the division that we're gonna have to worry about. Obviously, we still have Cooper Kupp, Van Jefferson. Our defense is gonna be hit or miss. I mean, even the year that we won the Super Bowl, there'd be, tons of times that we give up big plays and we, oftentimes just didn't come to play. And then there's also going to be the talk around Sean McVay about how long he actually wants to coach. It's going to be interesting, but I mean, I'm pretty sure it's like the 3rd season in a row we went 0-3 in the preseason and we just lost 4-0.
To be fair, like you said, you guys have the benefit of having the one and only Canadian Football League team, the Arizona Cardinals, in your division. So you got 2 easy wins right there. That's a great starting point.
Yeah, but I mean, we start off in Seattle, and regardless of how they're favored by 4.5, it's always going to be a tough place to play. And we definitely have the experience on our team. It's not like we have guys who haven't been and won the Super Bowl. The only one of 3 receivers to win the Triple Crown a couple of years ago, Cooper Kupp. And that's obviously going to be somebody that is going to be able to bust a big play whenever he wants. But then we got the Niners at home, and then we go to Cincinnati. Then we go to Indianapolis, which Jonathan Taylor, that's a whole nother situation we're probably going to get on later on the show. And then we got the Eagles, Cardinals, Steelers, who I think the Steelers are possibly a wild card team. Yeah, they're a dark horse. I mean, Cincinnati is my AFC North champ. And then we got Dallas, and you guys are probably going to beat us. Honestly, I know we were saying before I have very low hopes on them. It's not really expecting too much. Those Seattle and San Francisco games are going to be brutal. If we could really be in a legitimate 2nd spot in the division, because I think the Niners are going to be number 1 regardless.
For sure.
Then we might have a chance. But our schedule doesn't do us any favors whatsoever.
I just want to have a quick bragging moment because I think this is the first time I can say this to both of you and have it be true. My team is way more talented than both of y'all's right now.
This is so true. And the way I see it this year for the Patriots right now, I will have low expectations and be happily surprised if they exceed them.
Yeah, of course. That's the best way to go about it when you're not having high hopes for your team, especially like we were talking about just a few moments ago, an offensively challenged team that New England is right now. If you guys can start the season off strong, I think your first 4 games, I think, are just brutal, if I remember right.
They're awful. We have the hardest strength of schedule in the league. We have the top hardest schedule, 1 to 8 weeks, 1 to 18. You
start off with Philly. Who's your week 2 matchup?
Dolphins.
Dolphins. Then is it Jets, Cowboys?
At the Jets, at the Cowboys. Say hello to 0-4 possibly.
I said you guys might start off 0-4.
0-4 easily. 1-3 if we're lucky.
Man, that's not an easy schedule at all to open up. We open up with the Giants, then we got the Jets, then we got the Cardinals. I'm hoping for 2-1. That's my goal for the first 3 games. 2-1, I'll be riding all right.
If we can win 1 out of the first 3, I will consider that a win.
I'm looking at the Patriots schedule. This shit is brutal. You guys go to, and I mean, hell, the Raiders, we just never know either. I mean, the Raiders are a team last year. Look how many games they either choked or just couldn't close it out. I mean, the Raiders were right there in a lot of those games. Josh Jacobs leading the NFL in rushing, or second lead the NFL in rushing. But I mean, the Raiders have the talent.
He led the league.
Raiders have the talent, so you guys are gonna have a brutal slate, and then it's just Miami, Buffalo. Like it's wild for you guys this year.
It's brutal.
And the thing is about the Raiders too, everyone likes to shit all over Jimmy G. He's a winning quarterback, guys. He wins when he starts. Are his numbers spectacular? No, but he wins. He finds ways to win games. He's got an elite, arguably the best receiver in football, Devontae Adams. Josh Jacobs led the league in rushing. He's going to be back. We know Darren Waller left to the Giants. Fine. let's not act like the Raiders are scrubs either. The AFC West is a deep, deep, deep division.
It's not a bad
This
team.
is going to sound like almost blasphemy even saying this, but as you said, Jimmy G is a winning quarterback. His stats aren't sexy. Neither were, again, I'm not comparing the two. I swear, I'm not comparing the two. But Tom Brady's numbers his first 3 years weren't lights out either.
Okay, well, I mean, we can add to that. Tom Brady's first 5 years, his numbers weren't elite status.
Not until he got Moss. No.
yeah, exactly. So I completely agree with you there, Justin. And I agree with what you're saying too. Let's not compare them. That's blasphemous.
That's blasphemous. Is doing Brady an absolute disservice and Jimmy G a disservice for that matter too.
It's blasphemous to Brady and unfair to Jimmy G because he's a solid quarterback that wins games. But no, is he Tom Brady? Fuck no, absolutely not.
Absolutely.
Not a chance. And then, of course, I know sometime late in December, good old Patty Mahomes is going up to Foxborough to probably just blow you guys off the field. Yeah. So it's tough sledding for New England.
So I would say that the defense, the Patriots' hopes and dreams of this year rely solely on the defense. If the defense holds, then maybe something can happen.
Let me ask you this though: say New England has worse than you expected. Say New England goes 3-14. Is Bill on the hot seat, or is it past hot seat that time for Bill because of the struggles that aren't improving offensively? And is it just, all right, Bill, you're a legend, we love you, but it's time to part ways? Would you put him in hot seat? Would you put him in not hot seat? Or would you put him like, Bill, we love you, but you gotta go?
Based on his recent dealings with Kraft, I'd almost say, Bill, it's been great. Let's move on.
Could talk to Justin 5 years ago. Could you ever imagine that even be a conversation?
Hell no.
That's insane to think about. That it might be time for Bill Belichick to leave.
Exactly. But you can't deny that his drafting ability, his draft record last 3 or 4 years has been putrid at best. I mean, N'Keal Harry.
Offensively, defensively, he's been fine.
He's only good at drafting defense. That's it. He takes no input or makes any savvy offensive picks.
Is there a worse receiving core in the league than New England's right now that you can think of off the top of your head?
Arizona, maybe.
Oh, I was actually, if you don't count tight ends, Kansas City actually by far. But
yeah, if you don't count tight ends, Kansas City probably.
Yeah, I mean, God, when Marquez Valdez-Scantling is your number one receiver,
you got problems.
Yeah, but they also have Patrick Mahomes, so I'm not worried about them.
No, I'm not worried about either.
They'll be fine. But as far as just talented receiving cores, yeah, they're pretty low on that standard. And I mean, you got to think, Justin, how long have we been talking about get Mac some help? 2-3 years now? Like, just get him somebody.
Since he was drafted?
Get him somebody. That's all New England fans want.
We would say that since Brady was Brady's last couple of years.
Yeah,
get Brady some weapons. Get Cam some weapons. Now get Mac weapons.
Look how bad New England's receiving core was Brady's last year in New England.
It was
awful.
It was awful.
And that was evident against Tennessee in the wild card round. There was nobody to get open. Edelman was on his last leg. It just, there was nothing there for Tom.
That way to go. But alas, we digress, and I'm excited about the new season coming up. We'll see how things go.
Do you guys have an upset pick for week 1? Are you looking at the schedule? Do you have anything that kind of sticks out to you? Were you thinking, everyone thinks that's a clear win, but maybe not so much?
Yeah, I've got a couple. There's always a few. It seems because week 1, I mean, you guys know me, Mary, from posting my parlays, not necessarily in our group chat. I'm a big betting person. Week 1 from NFL is something. I mean, week 1 college, but especially NFL, because you have no idea. I mean, there's so much that goes into it. Chemistry, new players, guys leaving, more experience, less experience. Like, there's so much that goes into it. As far as one that jumps out at me. I mean, there's not really all the week 1 games are pretty evenly matched. There's nobody week 1 that's bigger than a 7-point favorite. That's the Cardinals, Commanders over the Cardinals, and Cardinals ain't fucking winning that game. Like Merritt said, they belong in the CFL. Texans ain't beating Baltimore. Nothing really jumps out. Tampa ain't beating Minnesota. If I was to pick one, it might be my Rams, or I mean, I don't know if I don't think New England's gonna be able to get done, even though they're at home.
I'm looking at the schedule right now, and this may sound blasphemous. You're right, as regarding like the actual. Nothing really seems too out of whack when it comes to week 1. Every team looks pretty poised, pretty close in standards here. But you're right. Houston's not beating Baltimore. Cardinals aren't beating the Commanders. I just don't see any shot in that. But based on the way that this team ended last season, and I know this is going to sound blasphemous. I'm so sorry to any Kansas City fan.
If you say the motherfucking Lions, God damn it, baby.
I think the Lions might have I'll give them a 25 to 30% shot of winning that game, the way they came out at the end of last season.
Sure.
And don't get me wrong. If I'm in a football pool, I'm picking Kansas City to win that game every time. However, just looking at the schedule, the way it's composed for week 1, I think it's a possibility. I really do.
The closest upset that I'm honestly seeing is maybe the Steelers over the Niners, and that's a puncher's chance at best.
That's a decent one too, especially we don't know San Francisco's quarterback situation. And Kenny Pickett, again, no stock in preseason. 4 drives, 4 touchdowns against the Falcons in his final preseason showing. He looks like he's going to be well improved. George Pickens is a great receiver. They look like they could be, like you guys were saying, wild card, maybe even divisional round contenders this year.
We shall see.
And another thing about the Lions as well, I mean, they lost their emotional leader. I mean, and I think culture goes a long way for NFL, college, whatever. But
yeah.
They lost Jamal Williams, their emotional leader. But we'll see. I mean, Jared Goff's only 28. He's really just improving. And the Lions definitely make some strides, especially towards the end of last season. And then Penei Sewell. I always forget how to pronounce his name, even though he played in the Pac-12.
Okay.
But yeah, he's back for another year, and we're gonna see. Because the Lions definitely look like they were taking a lot of strides. Like you said. I mean, because they came one game. I think somebody won. I think it was the Seahawks, right, last year. Otherwise, they were over the Packers.
They were going to be in the wild card round.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited. I know you guys are excited. We know everyone listening is going to be excited. The NFL's back, and I couldn't be happier. It's going to be a great season. Justin, before you go, because Sean and Ian and I did this last episode of the episode before, what's your Super Bowl matchup? Who's your Super Bowl winner before you get out of here?
Ooh. Rematch of last year, KC Philly, and I got Philly.
See, damn, you got Philly winning the whole thing. I don't. I think Philly's going to take a step back. They lost 7 starters on defense. I think Philly's still going to be good. They're probably still going to win the NFC East, be a top-tier team in the NFC, mainly because the NFC is so weak. I don't have either one of those teams making the Super Bowl. My prediction is going to stand. I'm still saying the Bengals.
Yeah, solid pick, though. Very solid pick. We'll see.
But, all right, we appreciate you joining us for this segment, Justin. We know you only had time for one. You got to get going. But, you're more than welcome on Mixed Reactions anytime, man.
Sounds great, guys. It's been
Have a good one, buddy.
Take care, you guys.
All right. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Justin. Definitely always.
Ian, let's just keep on trucking. I know you wanted to talk about some Jonathan Taylor. Let's add a little bit of splash into here, too, if you would like. One thing that we can definitely do. We're only about 6 weeks away from the start of the NBA season. 6 to 8 weeks, I believe, from at least NBA preseason.
Shit, at least. I don't. But, yeah, that's closer than that. Holy shit, it's already almost in August. You're right, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, we're about 6 to 8 weeks away from the start of preseason for the NBA. Just little here and there. Just sprinkle it in what we think of this coming NBA season, of course. But I know you were kind of big on this whole Jonathan Taylor conversation, so I kind of want to get your thoughts on it. And I personally don't think he's going to end up getting traded. It doesn't seem like there's many suitors out there. It kind of seems like the culture asking for, the whole everything plus the kitchen sink when it comes to regarding him. Do you think he ends up getting moved? Do you think he's going to end up playing? or he might take the Le'Veon Bell route and kind of sit out a year?
To be honest with you, just because it's so not necessarily publicized, but it's just so well known now that the running back are so much less valued than they were in the past. I'm more leaning towards him taking the Le'Veon Bell route. I mean, you look at a guy that 2021 almost rushed for 2,000 yards.
Yeah.
Last year, a little bit of a drop off. He was
I
hurt.
was going to say he had a little bit of a drop last year, which I don't necessarily put on him, because after you get a 2,000-yard season, it's kind of expected that you're going to take a little step back.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And the thing is, one of the reasons I want to talk about Jonathan Taylor too wasn't necessarily just about him, but just about the running back market in general. I mean, you look at Saquon. I mean, when is the last running back that's just been that just prototypical, great when you watch them play? And these guys aren't as valued as they used to be. And one analogy I heard earlier, and I really liked it, was that running backs are the only position group that are treated like a car, and as soon as they're driven, their value goes down. So I just kind of wanted to get, as a huge football fan yourself, your take on the running back market in general and why you think it's so diluted, or why they're so, I guess, unappreciated. Maybe that would be a better word.
Well,
and what you think is going to happen with Jonathan Taylor, because if I'm a Rams fan, I want him on my team, but
absolutely.
It also revolves around how teams play. And when's the last running back to really lead a team to a championship? I mean, you look at, a great running back isn't necessarily required anymore. I mean, look at the Chiefs. They have home. I mean, who was their running back? Edwards-Helaire and
Jarrett McKinnon.
Right.
Actually, Isaiah Pacheco. Let's not act like he's not a stud. Actually, Isaiah Pacheco, that man runs hard. But I get what you're saying. In my personal take on why the running back position is so, like you said, it's like a car. The second it leaves the lot, the depreciation value, it cuts it in half. Running backs are such a dime a dozen this time. This phase of the NFL is what I want to call it. And I feel like that. This go around. It's just, the reason I feel like that is because every year there's a breakout back every year. You know what I mean? There's always that one breakout back, has a great season. But running backs, for one, they take so many hits. They have such high risks to injury, and your motor just doesn't run like it does once you turn 30. And so they have that saying, you never pay a running back twice. You put him on that rookie contract, you give him that one extension for that 4 years. After the 8th season, you let him go. And it's been like that for years and years now. Right. And it's kind of getting to the point now where they're almost cutting that in half. And it's, after your rookie deal, we're going to let you walk because they can find someone better. All the team really needs at this point, if they want to have a solid running back, is have a decent offensive line and get him involved in the pass game. It doesn't take a stellar all-world running back to make impact anymore. Look at Tony Pollard out of Dallas. Look at the impact that he had immediately stepping onto the field. Are we going to sit here and act like Tony Pollard has the same talent as a running back as Ezekiel Elliott did when he first came in the league? No, absolutely not. When Zeke came from in the league first, he rushed for 1,800 yards and led the league in rushing, or 1,600 yards. It's one of two, 18 or 16. Led the league in rushing. He was a phenomenal back that took way too many hits, had too many injuries, and lost a step or two, frankly. And now he had to fight to make New England's roster. They don't have a long lifespan in the NFL anymore. And once a player, especially at a position that's depleted, especially at a position that's not valued, once they lose a step, they don't hold value anymore. And for Jonathan Taylor, who back in, 2021, he was the Colts offense. He ran for that. How many yards did he rush for? I believe you had the stat up.
1,800 back in 2021.
Ran for 1,800 yards, probably had 2,500 all-purpose yards. I don't know how many yards he had on the pass game, but had a phenomenal season, and that means nothing to the Colts. That should show you how depreciated the running back position is.
Right, and then another thing I was gonna mention as well, because like you said, it's been proven for years that you don't need a great running back to win, but not necessarily a counterpoint, but I guess just something else to add on to that is what about running backs like McCaffrey, who had 83 catches, or Eckler, who was fourth on his team in receptions with 107, and they made the playoffs. Do you think there's more of a case for those guys to get paid, where as
No,
opposed to your traditional Saquon or Jonathan Taylor just gonna run the ball right
no,
outside the zone?
absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because Christian McCaffrey is phenomenal as a player as Christian McCaffrey is. Say he never gets traded and he's still on the Panthers. How much better does he really make them? Yeah, he makes them pretty, have a threat offensively every now and again. Sure. Will he get his touches? Sure. Will he get his yards? Absolutely. Is that going to translate to winning? It's almost at some point when you get down 10 to 15 points and all the defense is doing is putting 4 in the box and putting 7, putting 7 in the secondary. Sure, McCaffrey's going to find holes. He's going to get yards. But at the same time, is that accumulating to winning? I don't think so. I just don't see it. Now,
Yeah, that's a
could
fair point.
McCaffrey, but the thing is, put McCaffrey, like we said, on the 49ers, he makes them immensely better because of the talent that's surrounding him. You put him on the Panthers, is he going to give you an extra win or two? Possibly. But is he going to turn the Panthers from a 4-win team to a 10-win team? No. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I mean, hell, you might even make the argument now that a receiver can make more of a difference just because of the yards that they're gonna get every single catch. And just look at Cooper Kupp. Look how big of a difference he made with the Rams in their Super Bowl winning year. without Cooper Kupp, we were in the wild card, but we don't win the Did we win the fucking division that year? Yeah, we did win the division on the last day of this. Wait.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, because that's why we got
I
a home
agree.
playoff game. Yeah, but without Cooper Kupp, we don't. Because I grew up Ricky Williams. When the running backs were stars. As far as star coming into the NFL, Saquon and then Bijan Robinson now for the Falcons, and that's one thing as well is whenever his rookie contract is up, what's going to happen? But these guys just aren't highly regarded, like the Ricky Williams that we grew up watching and that helped me out.
Put this into perspective real quick. Oh, okay, hold on. I'll help you out because you're talking about stuff like Ricky Williams, Jamal Lewis, Tiki Barber. You're talking about backs like that. Those are the stars that we watched growing up. I agree. Clinton Portis is another one that we could mention. There's so many. Amon Green. Could go on forever. But my point is, you brought up a name and it sparked something in my head. So you brought up Bijan Robinson, right? Now, Bijan, the Falcons, do you see them making a push this year because of Bijan Robinson? The answer is probably no, right?
Not because of him alone, right? We've seen running backs can have and then another thing about the running backs, and I'll let you get to your other point in a second, is I feel like it's so much easier to key in on a running back than a receiver. Because if you know the dude's just gonna run the fucking ball all day, you can play 8, 9, you can stack the box. Whereas a receiver, Diva's gonna have to worry about everybody else too. And you could double team certain guys, but they're gonna
that means you're
it's
gonna
a lot
have
easier to
single
get
coverage
open,
on somebody else. You know what I mean? You can double cover one guy, but that means you have single coverage on somebody else. Because so even if the receiver himself is not affecting the game with his numbers, he's impacting it in whole other different areas.
Yeah, exactly. Same concept as Aaron Donald. He might not get the huge sack numbers anymore. He's getting fucking triple teamed.
Exactly. But he creates opportunities for other people on the line. Absolutely. 100% agree. Now, do you think if Atlanta added Bryce Young instead of Bijan Robinson, they'd be more hype around the Falcons? The answer is probably yes.
Yeah.
However, Bijan Robinson may end up having a more successful career than Bryce Young, but it doesn't mean he's a more impactful player. And I think that's the point we keep getting back to with the running backs, is they can absolutely have tremendous seasons. They can put up stats and be phenomenal football players, but it doesn't accumulate to winning like a quarterback would. And they'll never be that. And back then, we're talking about the 2000s and the 90s, it was almost more important to have a running back than a quarterback. It's such a passing league now. It's such a high-scoring league that you need a top-tier quarterback. Who was the last non-top-tier quarterback to win a Super Bowl, do you think?
Wait, I'm sorry. What was the question again?
In your mind, who was the last non-top tier quarterback to win a Super
Oh.
Bowl?
I mean, shit, Foles. Or something comes to mind.
Facts. That's fair, and I will give you that. But even that is going on what 5-6 years now, and then before then you could probably argue Joe Flacco, who had a great playoff run. So it's not like Joe Flacco. Eli's won 2 Super Bowls and has over 400 touchdown passes in the league, though. Are we really going to not argue that Eli Manning's not a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, I was kind of splitting here. I've never been a huge Eli fan, but I mean, what Dilfer? I mean, we can go up the Brad Johnson.
Brad Johnson and Trent Dilfer
here.
were the ones that I was looking at. Mm-hmm. Those are 20 years ago now.
And Dilfer was like 23, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that can be the case anymore. You'll have one-offs like you did with we just had his name, Nick Foles, but he also threw for 400 yards, won the Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah, he balled. I remember we actually, one of the few podcasts that we did was after, I think, the NFC Championship when they beat the Vikings. You were just saying the bottom line is the reason they won that game. I still remember that is that Nick Foles balled the fuck out. And then in the Super Bowl, did he outplay Brady? Brady threw for over 500 yards, maybe not. But Nick Foles definitely was he won MVP, right? I think he won MVP.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, he won MVP.
But I see your point though. It's you need a quarterback. You need some. I mean, going to the quarterback thing. What is the last team that really won a Super Bowl without? I mean, the Eagles when they won, but that's kind of the Foles year that we were talking about. I mean, who was there? They had Aguilar.
Put this into perspective too. That Eagles team was so drastically talented.
Yeah. That
a man who's no longer on an active NFL roster, Carson Wentz, was gonna win the MVP. That's how stellar that team was that year. That's how stacked they were. That a man who is 5 years later, nobody wants him, was going to win the MVP.
And he was running away with the MVP after they beat our Rams. He was running away with it, and then he got
injured against the Rams. Yeah, no, absolutely. And so that is like almost a one-off situation where I almost feel like it didn't matter who their quarterback was just because of how loaded they were.
Right.
And then so it almost dates back to me, in my opinion, to Joe Flacco in 2012, who had an all-time historic playoff run. So you need a quarterback. You're going to have one-off years. Sure, I get it. But name a team this year that doesn't have an elite quarterback that you feel is a true Super Bowl contender.
It doesn't have an elite core. That's a true Super Bowl. I mean, I'm just thinking about Super Bowl contenders at the top of my head. Burrow's definitely elite. Mahomes is elite. Jalen Hurts is a really, really good quarterback. Get right on the verge of elite.
There's one. It's San Francisco.
What, Purdy?
Yeah, there's one team that doesn't have an elite quarterback that's a Super Bowl contender. I'm a Cowboys fan. Dak's not elite. I don't have Dallas as a true Super Bowl contender. I think Dallas can make noise. I think Dallas can win games and get in the playoffs. I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender. Dak's not elite. San Francisco is the lone team, I feel, that does not have an elite quarterback that's a true, and I mean a true Super Bowl contender. You're going to hear on ESPN and Fox and all the sports shows, oh, this team's a Super Bowl contender, this team's a Super Bowl contender. Bullshit. There's 4 or 5 teams that are true Super Bowl contenders. It's Buffalo, it's Cincinnati, it's Philadelphia, it's Kansas City, it's San Francisco. You can still argue Philadelphia, I suppose, that's fine. But those are the teams that I feel are the true Super Bowl contenders. And obviously something happens every NFL season that catches us all by surprise. That's going to happen again this year. But from today, August 30th, that's my standpoint on it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think the more years go along, the less one-offs like the Nick Foles were going to – well, like you said, that was more of a one-off because of just because how talented they were. But it's going to be – you're going to need an elite quarterback in order to – let's think about the final 4 last year. You had Burrow, Mahomes, Hurts, and Purdy. And Purdy, he went down at the beginning of the game. But, I mean –
absolutely.
It's
San Francisco is almost like the same scenario as – 2017 Philadelphia. I'm blank.
Right, I was
blanking
just
on
gonna,
that.
yeah, because they just, that's what I'm saying. Because last year San Francisco was so talented. They
Exactly.
just ridiculous, just speed. I mean, then McCaffrey fucking throws for a touchdown, catches a touchdown, and runs for a touchdown in the same game. Their defense is insane. They have a good culture. They have a good toughness. But like you said, it's not. You're gonna need those elite quarterbacks because with Cincinnati, all the 5 teams that you just mentioned, the only one without an elite quarterback is San Francisco.
Absolutely.
Dallas, I honestly, I never really count Dallas out. I'm not gonna lie. It just seems like Dallas is always really, really good in one area, but they always have those one or two vulnerabilities to where they just end up getting exposed at some point in the playoffs. And then last year they played a really good team, I think. I don't think
Let's not act like that vulnerability isn't the quarterback, though. And I'm not saying Dak's not good. Dak's very good. Especially there, I see Dak in 2 separate lights. Because when Dak is on his A game, he's phenomenal. The first playoff game against Tampa Bay, he was damn near perfect. He shredded that defense to pieces. And then against San Francisco, he was pedestrian. That's how I view Dak. If Dak, let's put it like this, if Dak can go out and have a fucking Joe Flacco type playoff run, God forbid me saying that, Dallas can absolutely win the Super Bowl because their defense is no joke. Dallas's defense is top notch, right there with San Francisco's for the best in the league. Do you agree with that?
Repeat that one more time. The last part. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. What I was saying is, say Dak Prescott has a Joe Flacco type playoff run, they can absolutely win the Super Bowl because Dallas's defense is elite. It's right there with San Francisco's is the best in the league.
Right, and that's one of those things like you were talking about with the Nick Foles example. As long as you have a quarterback who doesn't shit himself every time he throws the ball, the team is so talented they're going to be able to carry him. And I think that could, because Dallas's defense is just so elite. I mean, Micah Parsons, god damn, man, that dude is a beast. And then Trayvon Diggs is even getting more experience, and he had a very humbling year last year a lot of times, but he gambles. He's a gambler. So we're going to see. But I definitely agree with you. I think that that is one of those things to where if, they could carry him essentially to the Super Bowl and make him look like Joe Flacco in 2013, and then Nick Foles when he won the Super Bowl. So,
agreed.
I definitely
agree. I agree with that completely. And another thing about that aspect of it, too, now that Trayvon Diggs is paired with Stephon Gilmore, that is going to open up new worlds for Dallas's defense, man. They're going to be able to bring some serious blitz packaging.
Yeah, and that's especially Micah Parsons, probably evokes more fear than in offensive lines than just about quarterbacks, just about more than anybody in the league. I'm not named Aaron Donald. I mean, some might argue that Micah Parsons. I mean, I might even argue Micah is the best defensive player in the league right now. And then, like you said,
it's an arguable case. As a Cowboys fan, I'm not going to make the case. I don't want to sound biased. It's definitely arguable Micah's the best defensive player in the league. You can still argue Aaron Donald, of course. You can still argue Nick Bosa, T.J. Watt. A lot of names in the mix, but Micah's in the conversation.
Yeah, now that you have Gilmore, they're gonna it's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be a more balanced defense. There's gonna be less holes, and they're gonna be able to create turnovers. And when you have a guy like Micah Parsons creating that kind of havoc, and you have, I mean, what the fuck did Diggs have the other year? 8 interceptions. That was only 2 seasons ago. People forget
it was
because
11.
It was as I say, he didn't the NFL they tweeted we were gonna tweet something, but Micah Parsons intercepted it. That or not Micah Parsons, Trayvon Diggs it was intercepted by Trayvon Diggs. Yeah. They're going to create turnovers. I think Dallas always strikes me as one of those teams. NFL is meant to be done in a 1-game playoff because football, normally the tougher team wins, the better team wins. Basketball, the fucking ball can just bounce out. But Dallas, if they can essentially run the table, get the number 1 or the number 2 seed, I don't see any if Dallas can get to the NFC, that's my thing with Dallas. If they can get the confidence, like if they would have beat San Francisco last year, I don't really doubt that they could have beat Philly. Now, would they have? I don't know. Philly was really, really good. Philly, like, they might take a step back this year. They were really good last year. I think Dallas just needs that confidence of making a run in the playoffs. They've never really made a true run. I mean, you look at back 2015 when they beat the Lions in the first round. They lost the next game because Dez didn't catch it. And then they get the first round bye. I think sometimes, and I don't know if you're going to agree with this or not, we can get to NBA in a second as well, but I think sometimes that when it comes to playoff games, there can be more pressure playing at home. You
Of course,
especially
yeah, 'cause you're playing in front
especially
of your
for a young
fans.
team, and especially in front of a crowd like Dallas, to where you hear the fucking groans, you hear the oh shit, not again. Whereas if you're on the road, I mean, your fans are gonna hate you if you lose, but at least you're not feeling them right in, your
Exactly.
face. And I think that for a young team, I think we're a lot more likely to see a young team get an upset on the playoff on the road because a young team is too dumb to be nervous. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? That's kind of always the mentality that
Beautifully said.
that
Beautifully
I've
said.
had
A
on.
young team is too dumb to be nervous. That's exactly right. And especially in a team, let's put it like this. I have more faith in Kansas City than I do any other team. I never am going to count them out.
Yeah, me either.
But put a team for Pittsburgh in the mix. Pittsburgh's not going to be scared because of how young they are. Obviously, they have the historic, they're a historic franchise, won 6 Super Bowls, one of the most iconic sports franchises in the history of sports. Not talking about that. But the young guys in Pittsburgh, Kenny Pickett, George Pickens, TJ Watt, they're not going to be afraid to go up to Arrowhead. Now, you put a team like the Jets in there with Aaron Rodgers, who is the weight of the world expectations on his shoulders. He may feel it more than Kenny Pickett would. Now, am I saying Kenny Pickett is even close to a good of quarterback as Aaron Rodgers? Not a shot. But he may not feel that pressure and may be able to play more freely.
Yeah, for sure. And I think another element too with the A-Rod thing or any high profile quarterback is the boos are 10 times louder with the Brady's, the
Yeah.
Rodgers, the Dax. I mean, shit. I mean, Dak's quarterback of America's team. I mean, shit, think about it like this. If Dak was a quarterback for the fucking Commanders, I mean, how much would we really talk about him? I mean, all 30
Never.
quarterbacks get talked
We'd
about,
say
but yeah.
if Dak was the quarterback of the Commanders, we'd be saying how well he's doing and how much the Commanders need to pay him in order to keep him.
Yeah, there's definitely just different expectations. But I think that's a really good example with Rodgers. And it comes with yeah, it's just you're gonna feel it a lot more. Now, Aaron Rodgers, I think is one of those guys that he's not gonna. I don't see him as the type to necessarily in a game like that. We're gonna see how they play this year because they're gonna have a lot of big games. They're gonna have to go to Buffalo. They're gonna have to go to Miami. I mean, granted, Miami
Go
isn't
to
necessarily
Dallas.
the hardest place to play. They're gonna have to go to Dallas. The Jets. Jets go to Dallas this year?
Dallas, yeah, week 2.
Yeah, exactly. So it's there. It's going to be rocking in there. It's going to be rocking everywhere the Jets play. We can spend a whole hour on the Jets. That's going to be a very. Didn't they just had a receiver who quit football, retired the other day.
Chris Davis. He was a
Mhm.
5th selection overall by the Titans.
Yeah, so we're gonna see. It's gonna be I'm glad. I think they made the right choice this year for Hard Knocks. I think last year they got it right with the Lions too. Personally, and before we just go into NBA, why don't they do Hard Knocks with the Packers? Like, I don't know why we've never done that. It might have something to do with that's the only, I think, city that owns an NFL team. There's no owner, so I don't know if that plays
it's
any
very
part
possible.
into it. But I mean, it's training camp with the Packers. Like, they ride the fucking kids' bikes to practice. You're telling me they can't make a cinematic masterpiece out of that?
Hard Knocks is kind of diminished for me a little bit
Yeah.
because not anything that Hard Knocks is personally doing, but there's a lot of teams that put out their own shows now on YouTube that you can watch of their training camp.
Yeah. On their Facebook pages, yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's just not the same anymore.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I didn't think of it like that because back when we had the fucking Ravens, I mean, when the Jets did it, I mean, social media was kind of barely circling around. But when the Ravens did it,
social media was a baby.
Right,
Yeah.
Infant stages. Infancy.
Now, before we get out of here, we've been doing this for about almost an hour now, so we kind of got to wrap it up here shortly. But I know you love football, Ian. Trust me, I know you do. But down in your heart, man, you're a basketball guy, which is fine. I love basketball too. I'm more of a football guy than basketball. You're the exact opposite. You love football, but you're more of a basketball guy. Let's dive into a little bit of NBA here. We're kind of tipping-toeing towards the season here. It's a slow crawl. I've missed it. What are your expectations for the Clippers? Do you see anything happening with them? I know we brushed on it briefly during one of the last episodes a couple months ago. Do you have any high expectations for the Clippers? What are your thoughts on the upcoming NBA season in general?
Yeah, no, and definitely to be honest with you, baseball might have even overtaken football. I just watched so much baseball, man. I think it's so great. But getting away from that, the Clippers, nothing really too notable we did. We were able to get Russ to the Steel 2 years. Goddamn, sorry. $4 million, $2 million per year. Nothing crazy. I'm really interested. One of the bigger things, to be honest, is I'm interested to see how Boston's is gonna bounce back. I'm interested to see how. I mean, the Clippers will probably. If my honest expectation is, we'll probably get around the third or fourth seed. If Kawhi and Paul George can stay healthy and play an entire season together. Paul George came out during an interview, one of the podcasts, I don't know if it was his podcast, said Russell Westbrook is their leader, and they've never had a leader before. So, and he seems a lot more comfortable with the Clippers than he did with the Lakers. Growing up in Southern California, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm from Southern California. Everybody's a Laker fan. I'm sure he was a Laker fan growing up. Interesting. I think I told you guys that before. It's one of my old teammates, his cousin. So I've always followed his career pretty closely, even when he was sitting on the bench at UCLA. And you just saw a whole different mentality when he was on the Lakers. It just seemed like the pressure was getting to him. And I mean, it's like playing for the Yankees or the Cowboys. Yep. Shit, that's another perfect example. Every single thing you do is going to be scrutinized. But I think Westbrook is going to have a full train. He's going to have a training camp in LA. He's going to have a full season in LA. And I think the Clippers are going to be good. Denver might still be the team to beat. But to be honest, I'm kind of thinking the Warriors might bounce back. I mean, they're not
I'm
really
happy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy to be in a place in the NBA where it doesn't feel like there's a super team anymore.
No, there's not. And the thing is too, I mean, there's all these teams that are put together with the idea of being super teams. I mean, shit, you look at the fucking you look at the Suns. They have KD, they have Booker, they have Ayton. Didn't the Suns just get somebody else too, if I'm not fucking mistaken? Suns just picked somebody up huge that instantly catapulted them to favorites. Let me look at their roster real quick because I am tripping, but I know the Suns just got somebody that was a really big deal. Bradley Beal. What the fuck? Yeah, the Suns just got Bradley Beal. I can't see. It's been a couple of weeks. Yeah, and
it has been.
People have, it seems like, been criticizing Bradley Beal more than ever, but this dude has been the best player in Washington for years. He's going to be able to add more depth at the shooting guard position. And Booker last season, especially in the playoffs, was playing out of his mind along with KD. They just ran into a buzzsaw with the Nuggets. You couldn't really work KD consistently into the rotation throughout the whole year. So I think the Suns are going to have a really good chance. I was on the fence about the Suns or Nuggets, but to be completely honest with you, I have the Suns winning it all this year. I think Boston,
that's fair,
with Porzingis, going to be really interesting. People forget about Milwaukee. Giannis just came out recently and said that he needs I think he said needs more guys that essentially take winning seriously, but people forget that before they got ousted, whatever fucking word is, by the Heat in the first round of the playoffs, the Bucks won 58 games. Like, they were the best team. And this is going to be Giannis's what the 2008 or 2009-2010 season was for LeBron. This is going to be the year where it's gonna be all about distractions off the court, where he's gonna go next.
Yep.
I personally, just watching Giannis's interviews, I don't think that Giannis is. I think he wants to win. Just reading about his background, just how loyal he seems to be to the Bucks and how much he's endeared by the. I don't think he wants to leave, but I mean, Giannis is, like 31 now, and he's gonna need to get something done quick. But I don't see anybody stopping the Suns, man. Like, when you have Booker and KD really getting to play together for a whole year, you throw Bradley Beal in the mix. Granted, they got rid of Chris Paul's old ass, but I mean,
that doesn't mean anything to me.
Chris Paul. The thing about him is the results don't lie. I mean, everywhere he's. I mean, shit. He gets to the Sun, and his first year with the Suns, they go to the first finals, and they go up 2-0 in the finals.
He's got no rings. Rings.
Chris Paul is probably the second best point guard, third best point guard. In terms of pure point guard, Chris Paul's top 3. Magic, John Stockton, Chris Paul. You might want to throw some people might throw. Whoa! Where are you going with this?
Lois, this is not my Batman class. No, I'm just kidding. What I'm saying is, did you just say Chris Paul is the third best point guard of all time?
I mean, do you have a different answer?
Yeah.
Who?
I sure as fuck do. Magic Johnson, Steph Curry, Isaiah Thomas. I would take them 3. Morning, day, midday, September, December, February fucking 30th over Chris Paul.
Hour 25. No, I
would take him on the second Tuesday of next week.
That's funny. okay, in terms of just what they've accomplished, Curry is a 2-time MVP. Curry is by far, I mean, what the fuck is he, like 200 threes above the record now? As far as accomplishments and better player, maybe Curry. But as far as pure point guard and being able to command the floor and set guys up, it's Chris Paul above Curry.
If you want to put it like that, like a pure point guard passer setting guys up, you could put fucking Rajon Rondo in that conversation then.
Not above Magic and fucking Stockton.
No, but you could put him in the same class as a Chris Paul, a little bit below, but in the same class. That doesn't mean anything to me. Chris Paul he's the point god. He's a phenomenal,
you just said it.
Phenomenal point guard. But realistically, is he even really a better point guard than LeBron James?
LeBron
is he?
The best. Yes. Now people want to say LeBron is the best passer ever. I know
no,
Skip Bayless.
I agree with you. He would. No, I agree with you. He would be a better point guard than just LeBron as a point guard. But think about how long it took you to answer that. You had to really think about it. I think Chris Paul's obviously a Hall of Famer. Obviously a Hall of Famer, no question. Top 10. I'd put him in the top 5 to 10 point guards. Probably in the 5 to 7 ratio for sure. But top 3? Like, okay, are you talking just pure? Are you saying from that standpoint?
Yes. What I'm saying is just pure ability to play the position, because Chris Paul has turned around every single team he's gone to. So LeBron.
If you were ranking, if you had to put him in number rankings for, like, say if you had to rank the all-time best point guards just in general, you wouldn't put Chris Paul at 3rd then.
In terms of what they've accomplished?
Well, say if someone said, hey, give me your top 5 point guards of all time.
Right, same way we rank the best players of all time.
Yes.
Kind of thing, right?
Yes, exactly. So in that standpoint, you wouldn't put Chris Paul top 3, would you?
Probably not, but that's only because Steph Curry is technically classified as a point guard. I saw somebody made an interesting point the other day. Curry is kind of like a playmaking shooting guard, to be honest with you. I mean,
what is a point guard supposed to do, Ian? They're supposed to make plays. He's a point guard. He's not a playmaking shooting guard. He's a fucking point guard. Steph Curry has handles, has great court vision, sets up the ball well. I don't even like Steph Curry that much. I hate the Steph Curry nut huggers. But he's a point guard, man.
Who's better defensively overall for their career?
Chris Paul, no question. That's easy.
I get what you're saying. Curry, he does play. I guess you might be able to consider him a point guard. He does set guys up. He's not a ball hog. I mean, because I mean, if you want to compare it to like Iverson was a point guard he was a size of a point guard that played shooting guard. Iverson was not a point guard at all. That's why they put him in shooting guard. They had Aaron McKee. They had Eric Snow. But when you look at I don't think that as far as being able to control the game, if you put Steph Curry on, if you put Steph Curry on all those teams that Chris Paul had, and another thing before I get into that, the Warriors, let's not act like they haven't drafted and developed some of their players like gods. You know, they drafted
100%.
They drafted Clay. They traded for Wiggins. Looney, I think they drafted Looney, but he started developing. The Warriors are great as far as drafting. And they have Clay was number 77 on the all-time list, but 2 top 80 players of all time on their team. If you put
the most
Curry
ironic thing about this conversation is, you know what? Real quick, the most ironic part of this whole conversation is now.
What's that?
Chris Paul's on the fucking Warriors.
Chris Paul's also fucking 38.
Yeah, exactly. That's super ironic. That literally just popped in my head as we were having this conversation.
Now, I mean, maybe if you put Steph Curry, all those other, I don't know, man, because I've never seen a team turn around that, instantly make that many teams better. I mean, at the end of the day, what's the argument with Steph Curry's career is over? Because honestly, I think a lot of these guys, their true legacy shows, but the conversation we have when their career is over, we're going to see them as I mean, I think we're gonna still see him as the greatest shooter. He's the greatest shooter ever to touch a basketball. That's not even a debate.
No
We
question.
can cut the bullshit right now. But are we gonna see him as a guy who had great, good coaching? Steve Kerr, amazing coach. Mark Jackson, and I mean, hell, Mark Jackson doesn't get enough credit for being able to. Steve Kerr pushed them over the hump. Mark Jackson definitely helped kickstart it. The front office was able to draft, but are we going to remember Steph Curry as a guy who was able to accomplish so much because he had one of the other greatest shooters ever, Clay? I mean, Draymond, I think
Literally
personally,
second greatest shooter ever. Clay's the second greatest shooter ever.
you think behind Curry? I think Ray Allen is number 2.
That's fair. That's fair. You can argue Ray. I'm not going to dismiss it. Okay, Clay's top 3 then. If you want to say that, Clay's top 3.
Yeah, I would definitely. There's no way I'll put Reggie Miller or Allen Houston or, you know,
No.
I mean, people want to say Larry Bird. I just want to get off. Larry Bird only shot like 3 threes a game for his career. I
Okay.
don't like. While Larry Bird might have been one of the best shooters.
Funny ass story about Larry
Yeah,
Bird
yeah,
though.
go ahead.
I don't know if you've heard this story whatever about Larry Bird. You remember the year? Obviously, none of us were born, but you know the year he won the 3-point contest, right? So
Yeah, I think I know
he
what you're
comes
gonna say. Go ahead.
he comes in the jumpsuit, walks into the locker room, looks around. He's like, "Which one of you motherfuckers is finishing in second?" And then he goes out and wins it.
And he hits a walk off, and then before the shot even goes in, he puts his hand up like I'm number 1. Larry Bird, the thing, Larry Bird, and that could be a whole other conversation. And I don't even mind having it. I think Larry Bird could still play not with his age, but at Larry Bird in his prime,
Larry Bird.
Right,
Larry Bird
play
could
today.
absolutely play in today's NBA, no question.
And people want to say he's too slow, he was too slow then. He couldn't jump high enough then.
Luka's slow. Luka's fine.
That was give me my exact comparison was Luka. And because people, I saw a video. People always there was a video. It was Luka doing. There's been a couple of videos where Luka, when he was, I don't know if it was like his draft process, but he's doing those different high tech fucking drills they have him do. They're like, oh, this is the guy that's dropping 25 points a game on your team on any given night. People, I don't think understand the pace of basketball. You don't. I mean, hell, look at Westbrook. Westbrook is one of the most explosive, going all out at all time players, and look how bad he struggled with the Lakers. Luka has mastered pace. Like Luka knows how to get to his spots. Luka understands. I mean, hell, the same thing can be said about Chris Paul. It's about change of pace. It's about being able to stop on a dime. It's about understanding how to get to your spots. Luka's mastered that. Larry Bird for sure. Larry Bird will be fucking one of the best players right now. And Larry Bird could pass, and he could rebound, and
he could pass very well,
he was on the defensive team a couple of times, wasn't he, Larry Bird?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, you know, excuse me, we're kind of on this whole Celtics trend right now. I want to make this point as a Celtics fan.
Mm-hmm.
As a lifelong Celtics fan, I love the Celtics. I'm gonna watch, but there's nothing that the Celtics can do in the regular season that's going to impress me at this point. Nothing. They're so close to being over the hump every single year. I know they can. I know there's not a team that can blow the Celtics out of the water in a 7-game series. They can compete with every team. They can at least push them to 6 or 7. Including Denver, including Golden State. There's not a single team in the NBA that can blow out the Celtics in a 7-game series. What they do in the regular season means nothing. They could finish with the number 1 seed, have 70 wins. Means nothing to me. I need them to get over the hump. They signed Jaylen Brown to that max extension. They have arguably top 3 of a 1-2 combo with Tatum and Brown. Tatum needs to take the next step. It's his time to do it. He gets a little better every year. You think he's going to take the next step in something about his game. Not his game directly, but it's almost like Jason Tatum's game doesn't elevate the team like it would with a lot of other star players that we could name. So I really need Boston to show they mean business in the playoffs. Does that make sense to you as far where I'm coming from? Like, put yourself in a fan
for
perspective.
Sure. I mean, hell, you might be able to say the same shit about your Cowboys.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Now,
not to that extent, because I think Boston has a way higher, not ceiling, but they have a way higher mark in a sense, like higher expectations. There we go, higher expectations than the Cowboys do. There's going to be analysts this year that pick the Celtics to win the title, guaranteed. And so I think it's time for Boston to put up or shut up. I don't care what they do in the regular season. I'm going to be intrigued. do you? Let me ask you this. I'm not sure how much you watch of it. Do you watch every single Clippers game? Because there's a few Celtics games in the regular season that I do miss.
I watch a good amount of them, but not every single one. I've been working or had to go do something, but I try to watch most of them for the most part.
No,
Yeah.
that's fair. But do you ever miss a Clippers playoff game?
Nah.
Exactly. That's how I am with the Celtics. I would never miss a Celtics playoff game. I watch a good majority of them in the regular season. But say on a Saturday night, they're playing Orlando in April. Not in April, because that's kind of when the playoffs start. Let's say in
January.
December. Yeah, December, January, somewhere in there. They're playing in Orlando. In on a Saturday night, if there's something else I might want to go do, yeah, I might pass up on watching the game. That's not going to mean much to me. But I don't miss a playoff game. But what they do in the regular season this year is meaningless to me. I don't care. I'll watch, but I do not care. They have to get it done this year.
I feel like
I'm
Dodger
gonna go
fans
out
have
on a
felt like that
limb.
for 20 years.
I'm going to go out on a limb. My prediction for the NBA season is the Celtics are going to win the title.
Oh my fucking god! Are you gonna cry the game is over as soon as they go down 2-0?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I always do, no matter what. But
Now, before we get to the question, one thing, because I think, what your bitch did, the Celtics made me think of it. Me and my friend are always having this debate. Now that Jaylen Brown, first two questions. One, who do you consider the better player out of Tatum and Brown? And two, now that Jaylen Brown has that new contract, do you think it's gonna not require necessarily, but do you expect him to get more touches? I want to know your takes on both of those.
So, as far as who's a better player, it's Tatum. No question. Jason Tatum's a better player than Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown's a good player. Top 15 in the league. Is he as good as Jason Tatum? Absolutely not. Is he going to get more touches? No. He's not. He's going to have around the same stat line that he had last year. Maybe even a little less now because we got the unicorn in the lineup who's going to be taking away some shots from Tatum and Brown. However, this is what's going to hurt Boston. Just wait until Jason Tatum's contract rolls around and how much they're going to have to pay him now.
Oh yeah, Brown set the market, and that's why people. Oh my God, you're getting Jaylen Brown all that money,
and they're gonna have to pay Tatum more. That's the sad part.
Well, if he's all NBA, well, he will be all NBA, I'm sure, when it comes time to renew his contract.
Absolutely will be, and that's the problem. Which is why I said I'm predicting Boston to win the title this year. I think their window of opportunity is this year and next. I think their bench is going to get super depleted over the next few years. And even with Tatum and Brown, they'll be fine. They'll still be playoff contenders. They'll still be Eastern Conference, second round, for the most part. But true championship contenders, this year and next. And I think this is the year Boston gets it done.
Yeah, that's a really. I mean, cause shit, I was watching when they played LeBron when LeBron carried them to the Cavs to the finals of 2018. You look how I mean, yeah, they were young, man. Like Tatum and Brown, they look young, and the team was still young, and
they're not that anymore.
They're closing
6 years ago now.
They're coming from that. They're going from that lovable, up and coming, hardworking, team to, people are really starting to have a problem with it, and I don't really blame them. But at the same time, I think the addition of Porzingis is going to help a lot. That's something that they really didn't. I mean, granted, Horford I think was a decent player, but I just felt like their chemistry was off last year, man. Like the Celtics, when I would watch some of their games, and especially some of the playoffs games, I've been messaging you, they look like the best fucking team in the NBA sometimes. Like better than Denver, better than anybody, where they're sharing the ball when Tatum is on, getting Horford involved, Derek, whoever it might be. The Celtics look like the best team in the NBA.
Well, see what the Celtics did last year. A lot of the times, I don't know if the way I'm going to put this is going to make much sense. It's not that the Celtics would out-scheme teams. They would just straight up out-talent teams. But that's not always going to work. And that's what they ran into with Miami. They ran into a team who was way more poised, much better coached, and they ran into a team who wasn't afraid of them.
That's the key. That's the key word, or not the key word. The key phrase. Miami wasn't afraid. And dude, I'm not even gonna lie. I think I even went on Facebook and said Miami might have been one of the favorite team, one of the best, not the best teams, one of my favorite teams ever to watch because they took people's fucking heart. Like the Celtics, man. Like they just. When the Heat jump out on you, they put their foot on your throat. Boston, the thing is, Boston was very much so, it seemed like a front-running team. See, like when they got a big lead, they would just cruise, but it seemed like they had a really difficult time. They came back a few games, but it seemed like they had a difficult time.
They did struggle. They struggled to close tough games. You're absolutely right. They 100% struggled to close tough games. Absolutely agree. Yeah, man, we're running on almost an hour and a half. So, let's close this out strong. Do you have a question lined up or?
Wait.
What's that?
My bad, might cut out a little bit, but yeah, I do. So as far as the NBA, because we were talking about point guards earlier, who is the
Sure.
most underrated point guard of all time?
Oh, wow, the most underrated point guard of all time. That's a really good question. I was not expecting something that hard hitting.
Me either.
Most underrated point guard of all time. Do you have it? Go first. This is something I'm going to have to really think on.
Mark Price.
Damn, that's a good one.
Third all time in free throw percentage. And honestly, so many of these players well, granted, Mark Price, some of his best years were before, like right as Jordan, was before he could really figure it out, but the bad boy Pistons. But Mark Price shot over 90% from the free throw line in his career. Those Cavalier teams were good. I mean, they got eliminated by the Bulls multiple times. And I think that Mark Price is just one of those guys that people don't talk. I mean, it comes down to championships, man. It comes down to playing in the finals. At the end of the day, I mean, I don't know if it's just my memory. I could tell you every team that played in the final going back to 1983. I have time mixed reactions if you guys do as well. But I can't tell you who every team was that made the playoffs. I can't tell you who every team was in the second round. But Mark Price played in the NBA
I'm going back and forth between two of them in my head, and I can't decide which one. All right, I got two. Can I use two?
Sure, you can use two if it's like a tie, if you think it's a tie.
Kevin Johnson and Chauncey Billups.
Chauncey Billups, really. Kevin Johnson was one that came to my mind. I was also thinking Tony Parker, but at the same time, I feel like Tony Parker in a way got the love that he deserved, but he kind of didn't.
He
Tony
made
Parker
the Hall
was
of
very
Fame.
impactful.
So,
oh,
yeah.
Is he in the Hall of Fame now?
Yeah, he made the Hall of Fame class this year. Fun story about Tony Parker. I went to the Basketball Hall of Fame this past summer with my fiance, and what we did is the time that we were there, we didn't stay for the whole thing. Tony Parker was gonna do like a video call to the Basketball Hall of Fame around like 2 p.m. We weren't there long enough to see it, but that would have been super cool. Anyways, yeah, those would be my two: Kevin Johnson and Chauncey Billups.
Now, going back to Mark Price a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and read you off his free throw shooting percentage from the 90, 91, 91, 92, and 92, 93 season. 90, 91, he shot 95%. 91, 92 shot 94%. 92, 93 shot 94%. The lowest he ever shot in his career for the free throw line was his rookie year, 83%. Has LeBron, I mean, I might be wrong. LeBron fans might kill me, but LeBron has been around 70. There's been multiple years where it's been 75%, maybe below 75%. I'd have to actually go look it up.
I don't think LeBron's ever came close to that, ever, as far as free throws.
Not even close. And then 94, 95, he shot 91%. 96, 97, he shot 90%. So that's 3 seasons, and I'm guessing the bold means that he led the league in a free. Who the fuck shot higher than 95% that year? Doesn't even have that in bowl, but shooting 95% on free throws for an entire year. He shot over 40% from 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 times in his career. As far as from the field, I was looking at all of this last night. I'm just kind of going back through it. 1, 2. Twice he shot over 50, and that's as a point guard, over 50% from the field twice. He hovered right around 50% multiple times. As far as games started 722 games in his career. And yeah, shot 47% from the field for his career. For his free throw percentage or 15, so his career averages 15 points a game, 6 assists, 90% from the free throw line for his career. I just think he's a guy that doesn't get much love, and he won a gold medal with Team USA as well, the '96 Olympics. I just think he's a guy.
He certainly did.
And Kevin Johnson, I mean, he was straight up he was dunking on
killer. He was a killer.
that was a little bit before my time, but I've definitely, done my research and watched the videos. But Mark Price, I feel like yeah, he kind of gets lumped into, and we're not even going to get into all that, the slow white point guard, the slow white guy that Jordan played against. And whatever,
That's exactly. Yeah.
LeBron fans,
Just another plumber.
yeah, just another plumber. LeBron fans will never acknowledge that, he was but I mean, he's one of those guys. Any of those guys, I think, for the most part, that were at a speed disadvantage, a jumping disadvantage back in the day and still thrive. Larry Bird, Mark Price. I think Mark Price might have actually had a little bit of hops, but I think those guys would do fine in the NBA because there's certain things fundamental. I mean, the basket's still the same size.
They were so fundamentally skilled.
Yeah, Mark Price, and that's another thing with Chris Paul too. Chris Paul you could put his ass 10 years from now, 20 years from now in the NBA. Even though the NBA has changed so much, I think Chris Paul's an adapter. But yeah, Mark Price, good player. I've ever since I've been learning a little bit more about him. Just been watching more YouTube videos. Really, really good player. Those Cavalier teams were no joke. Larry Nance. They had what the fuck was his name? Did they have Larry Nance? They had Brad Daugherty.
Yeah.
They had Craig Elo. Those Cavs teams were good, man. I mean, shit. Look at how many teams in the Jordan era. Like, look how many players that didn't get rings. Barkley, Malone, Ewing. I mean, you know what? You reason Ewing didn't get a fucking ring is because John Stark shot them out of Game 7, but that's a different story. But just so many guys that are. I mean, hell, what do you think we're gonna think of? I mean, we might look at the same way as LeBron's career. Some of these guys that didn't get rings because LeBron was busy winning them. I mean, because think about it. Ever since LeBron and Curry, LeBron and Curry. Like ever since LeBron's coming to the NBA, there's been some kind of dynasty. Like you had the Spurs. Who never won a consecutive, but you had the Lakers, the 3P, that you had the Lakers. Well, LeBron came in after the 3P.
I say LeBron came in after the 3P, but I know exactly what you mean.
Warriors winning 3 out of 4, and but I mean, think about how many guys don't have rings. Harden averaged fucking 38 points a game one season, doesn't have a ring.
Harden, Westbrook,
Westbrook, Chris Paul. Who else?
Melo.
Good Melo, yeah. Melo was one of those guys to where, depending on what you listen to and what you watch, you might consider him underrated or overrated. But Melo was the captain of Team USA multiple times. So Melo,
Melo is a stone cold killer for sure.
It says a lot to me, honestly, when a guy is respected by his peers. And for a team with Kobe, LeBron, D Wade, Bosh, Dwight, Darren White, all those guys, they had Michael Redd. For them to make Melo, I think it was 2 times. Melo won 3 gold medals. I just forgot about it. Realized that last night.
You can make an argument Carmelo's the greatest USA player of all time, as far as Olympics goes.
Yeah, I mean, I really can't think of nobody better. I mean, Jordan won a gold medal in '84, right before he came to the NBA, that he won one with the Dream Team. I don't think anybody's ever won 3 that I could think of. Not with the men.
It's just Melo.
Maybe Sue Bird with the women.
That's possible. We're talking about real basketball.
Oh man, it's too we can't get us canceled like John Gruden, man. They've been trying to cancel Eminem for years, man. It's not gonna happen.
Can't do it. Real quick before you go, because I got to get going here in a couple minutes too. Have you seen anything of the new Undisputed yet? What do you think of it?
I don't know, man. I heard they won't let Skip Bayless talk. I haven't watched it though. I've only seen like a couple of segments. But honestly, I've liked Keyshawn. He's been on the ESPN LA shows with the Keyshawn, LZ, and Max, and then they as Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. And I like Michael. They have really good. What is it? Keyshawn, Richard Sherman, and Michael Irvin, right?
Yeah, it's just kind of weird. I like it too. I think I've seen a few segments. I think it's funny that Shannon Sharp's turning First Take now. It's almost like a flip flop of it. So I'm interested to see where it goes. But yeah, it's funny. It's funny.
Yeah, and then one more thing too is as somebody pointed out on a video I was watching, it really made a good point. I liked that First Take didn't just go back to try. They didn't try to replace Shannon Sharp. They didn't just try to get Skip Bayless another one-on-one partner to where him and Shannon Sharp's chemistry was one of the best I've ever seen, if not the best, as far as like a debate show. I mean, Skip, Stephen A. Some might, but
him and Shannon were different though. It was great.
They were different, but now they're not. But they didn't try to replace it, because the thing that's always irritated me, and not just because I peaked in middle school sports, but it's always irritated me when the whole "you never played." He gets fucking paid millions of dollars to analyze games. Skip Bayless watches every single Cowboys game, watches every single LeBron game. He knows what he's talking about. Maybe he didn't play, so maybe there are.
But he knows what he's talking about.
He knows what he's talking about. But that was my biggest fear when they got when they were announcing who's going to be coming on, because I didn't want the whole "you never played," and then you have idiots online like, "Oh, he got him." Like, nah, not really, man. It's just like we've heard this shit 1,000 times. So I like that they went with a different element, and I think Sherman, Irvin, Michael Irvin, and Keyshawn have a really good chemistry. It's just three I think Keyshawn's in the Hall of Fame too, or no? No, I don't think Keyshawn.
No, Keyshawn's not. Richard's not yet either, so it's only Michael. But
Richard.
I think it's going to take him a little while to find their footing for it to be like, you know, how the show's supposed to run. I think it might take him a little while to find their footing, but I think it's going to turn out to be really good.
Yeah, no, I think the same thing as well. And like I said, it's just a new element, man. I'm excited, but yeah, Merritt, it was really a pleasure, man. Biggest thing.
Oh, dude, always, man. It's always a pleasure, bro. Sean, we miss you. Come back soon, brother. Thank you to Justin for being on. And, you know, fuck you to everybody that ignored us on our Facebook post to join the show.
Well, you know what? Hold up. Before we get off, let me see if anybody actually replied.
No, nobody said a damn thing. Fuck them all.
Nobody said a thing. Yeah, man, it's okay, yeah, well fuck y'all then. Yeah, nobody even so much. Did anybody even look at the shit? Whatever.
No. No.
But yeah, man, it's Justin again, man. We really, you know, you are essentially the designated alternate, man. If you know, anytime we're down, whether me, Sean, or Merritt, you're always welcome, and we're excited to have you as the replacement. Always great hearing your take on the Patriots. It's nice hearing somebody being sick of their team other than the Cowboys. So it's really nice to be able to have him on here for sure.
But we'll be in touch soon, Ian. Great show, man.
All right, you too, man. Take it easy. Don't boop your cat too hard out there. Take care, Mixed Reactions.
Dude. I love the way you ended that.